Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to Christmas Advent day number 6. Today we're going to be finishing off this fur mini tutorial series with some tan or red coloured fur. If you would like to see all of these fur tutorials in real time, then follow me over on Patreon. For just $5 per month you gain access to over 100 videos, full voiceover tutorials. As always, all the materials used for this are listed in the description below should you wish to check those out. So we're going to start off the same way as we did with the other fur colour types, and I'm going to list the colours down the side here. So the colours that I'll be using for this colour fur, I'm going to be using two luminance coloured pencils, so they are Buff Titanium and Brown Ochre 10%. I'm also going to be using Brown Ochre, Burnt Sienna, Cinnamon and Venetian Red, and they're all in the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I'm also going to be using a little bit of the Caran d'Ache Luminance white pencil to do a little bit of burnishing and blending. So to start off this circle and this fur type, I'm going to start by adding a layer of the Buff Titanium down. So we're going to be using very light pressure with our sharp pencil, and you want to make sure that the colour laydown is very nice and smooth and that you have blended it all. So you want to make sure that you cover the entire area of the paper and try and get into as much of the tooth of the paper, so try and get into the grain of the paper as much as possible. Once we've added that first layer down, we're then going over with a secondary layer of the Buff Titanium, and this is just to give the overall circle a more of an ivory sort of creamy look. And that's what we're going to use as the base of the tan or red coloured fur. Next we're going to go in with the Brown Ochre 10%, and we're going to use the pencil and layer in exactly the same way as we did with the Buff Titanium. So you want to make sure you've got a really nice sharp pencil, you want to use smooth shading strokes, you don't want to use any harsh lines, you want to make sure everything is nice and soft. Use very light pressure throughout your pencil and make sure that everything is blended out nicely. So once we've got that layer of the Brown Ochre 10% down, we're then going in with one of our mid-tone colours, which is the Brown Ochre from the Faber-Castell Polychromos. And again, we're using this in exactly the same manner as before, just very lightly shading, got a nice sharp point on the pencil, always working in the direction of the fur as well. So if your fur is going horizontal, work in horizontal. If your fur is going off at a slight angle, then work in that way. So you always want to make sure that you follow your reference picture if you're using one and follow the direction that the fur is going in. If you follow in an unnatural direction, so if you follow horizontally instead of vertically, you're going to get an unnatural look to your fur. And this is important when you are shading your base layers, to always make sure that you're working in that direction. So once we've added a base layer of the Brown Ochre, we're then going over and burnishing ever so slightly with the Brown Ochre 10%. That's just to make sure that you get rid of any grain of the paper that's showing through, just to very lightly burnish and blend those layers together. I'm then going in with a second layer of the Brown Ochre, so we're using the first mid-tone pencil once again, and we're still making these shading motions. So this time I'm making sure that I'm adding the Brown Ochre into the darkest parts of the fur. So in my case I'm shading the underside or the bottom side of the circle, and I'm just adding 2 patches to the top of the circle as well. Once I've done some shading motions with the Brown Ochre, I'm then adding some fur strokes over the top. So I'm adding the lines into the lighter section of the fur. When I'm making fur strokes, I'm making sure that I kind of keep them a little bit choppy. They're not all going exactly parallel to one another. I'm making sure that they're coming off at slight angles every now and then. It just helps everything look a lot more natural. So I'm using very light pressure to add the fur strokes into the lighter area, and then I'm also adding the fur strokes into the darker area as well, just to help darken it up and to blend it into the lighter area as well. So we're going to concentrate on the top of the fur to try and get that sort of really nice light tan colour, and this is where we add the Cinnamon Polychromos colour. I find that adding a little bit of pink to the yellow areas just helps it give that little bit of extra pop. It really makes the colour come alive, and you get that really nice sort of tan peachy colour which you find on a lot of fur types. So I'm just making fur strokes with the cinnamon colour. I'm just using very light pressure, just going over the entire top of the circle there to try and add a nice peachy tone. What I'm then doing is using the Caran d'Ache Luminance white pencil to just burnish and blend everything together. I'm using quite light pressure with this because I found if you use quite hard pressure you just make everything look really washed out and really white. So make sure you use light pressure and just to burnish or blend everything together. If you don't want to burnish or blend, then just skip that step. You can leave it quite grainy looking if you've got a wiry type fur, but this is for smoother coloured fur. On top of that cinnamon and white, I'm then adding a few strokes of the burnt sienna. That's just to add in some of the fur details, as when you have lighter coloured fur, you tend to see more shadows and definition of the fur rather than on the darker areas. So I've just added a dark colour just to accent a few of those fur lines in there. We're then going back and concentrating on the darker part, and we're adding our second mid-tone of the burnt ochre. Again, I'm making sure that I've got a really nice sharp pencil and I'm making those fur lines going in the direction of the fur. I'm layering this pretty much all over the bottom half here just to give it a really nice tan, sort of red feel, really nice and orangey and warm. I'm also adding this colour into those dark patches just in the lighter section of the top of the circle there. Once I'm happy with the colour and the depth of that, I then go in with our burnt sienna. This is our darkest colour for this type of fur, and this is what gives the red colour to the darkest areas. So you can see as I'm layering down the burnt sienna, I'm using those fur strokes, and you can see that it's really starting to become really nice and red. This is a really nice colour to add to the shadows of this colour fur. So if you've got some really dark red areas on like a tan coloured animal, it's good to add some burnt sienna because you get that warmth of the orangey tones which is in that burnt sienna pencil. So to blend everything out and to make everything look really nice and soft and fluffy, I'm just adding the burnt sienna pencil all over the circle just to give some definition to the fur lines. I'm then using the Venetian red pencil on the right half of the circle so that you can see that just adding that little bit of extra red makes it all the more luminous. It gives it a really nice colour and depth. If your fur is quite cool, then I would suggest not using the Venetian red as it gives it a really warm tone. So I would suggest using Venetian red on your warmer toned animals rather than your cooler toned animals. I'm then just going over with the Luminance white pencil just to show you that you can add a little bit of a white glaze over your fur. So I'm just using this in the same manner, just using some fur strokes, adding this over the top of the red. It also helps to blend everything together real nice. So that's it for this fur tutorial, guys, and it brings an end to the Fur Colours mini tutorial series. Hopefully you've enjoyed this small series and found it useful and can apply some of these colours and techniques to your own work. If you'd like to see any other fur tutorials, then leave me a comment down below of what you would like to see. If you haven't done so already, then please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. A share is also appreciated with your arty friends. And I will see you in tomorrow's Advent video. Bye!